Hi, Lisa here. So today I really wanted to talk about empowerment and how do we become a bit happier and more joyful in our lives. And so the question becomes, what does it take to feel more empowered in your life? And one of the tools that I've worked with for many years with my clients is this idea of locus of control. You may be familiar with it in the form of Stephen Covey's circles of influence and circles of concern, but it is roughly two circles, and I'm going to draw this out today. So we've got a little circle in the center and a bigger circle outside, and it looks a little bit like this. So you've got the two circles. So the way these two circles work together is the inside circle is the internal locus of control, so inside. And then the outer circle is the external locus of control, so the outside. And what I find with people is that the way these two circles work together is that the more you focus on the inside will get bigger, and the more you focus on the outside will get bigger. So let's think about things that are outside of you that you may not have any control over, but you spend a lot of time thinking about. And the things that typically come to mind to me are things like other people. So I always have a section called other people. And this is really, everybody who lives on this planet is another person. This includes, spouses or partners. It includes your kids, includes your boss. I always throw in there other drivers because, other drivers can be incredibly annoying, and I don't know about you, but I know I drive better than all of them. So you've got this section right here of other people, spouses, kids, boss, other drivers, anybody else who lives on this planet. You may be in control of people off the planet, but on this planet, they're probably people who are going to suck up energy and maybe not have a big return on. Then there is a second section I call the world. And the world is very much made up of things like economies, right? So you got the economy, something that you might be worried about but have no control over. I always throw in politics. We're going to start to see how badly I spell. Politics. There's things like the environment. I may be very environmentally aware, but all I can actually do is recycle myself. Well, recycle myself too, but recycle, choose things that don't have as much plastic, choose, cans instead of plastic. But things like the environment, I may not have a lot of control over this, but it may be of a big concern to me. And really, there are a myriad of different factors that are outside the world that we can't control. Interest rates, all kinds of things, whether we like our government, it doesn't matter. And then there's this next section that I call time. And time really encapsulates the future, the present, and the past. And the way these three work together is this, and I'm sorry, I'm just writing it down real fast. So let me get those written down. So what you have here is, whoops, I've got my finger on it. You've got other people, you've got the world, and then you've got this area of time. And the way time works is this. I don't have Mr. Peabody's way back machine, and I don't think you do either, but we can spend an awful lot of time thinking about things that have already happened. And this moment right now, we may be able to impact it, but we can't really change it very much because we're here right in this moment. You are right here. Now you can turn this off and move on to the next video, or you can make a different decision, but all the different choices that you made up to this moment in the past have brought you to this moment right here. The future's a little bit more something we can influence, but even then, there are events that are beyond our control, like economies, recessions, choices that are made beyond our capacity to make a difference. And we're stuck with those things. And so the way this works is the more you focus on these things that are outside of yourself, often the more you are frustrated by them. Then on the inside, when your focus is on the inside, you have control over really only one thing, and that is you. And I sum it up as what you say, what you think, and and what you do. And so your two circles, or the two circles, end up looking a bit like this. So the way these two circles work again is the more you focus on the outside issues, the bigger that circle gets and the smaller the inside circle gets. And the more you focus on the inside, the bigger that circle gets and the smaller the outside circle gets. So when you think about the things that you focus on that are outside your, sphere of influence, what emotions come up in your mind when you think about that? And for many people, it is things like frustration. It's things like, I hear this often, helpless. Sometimes I hear hopeless. I also hear things like anxious. That is a big one for people. Stressed, which is like anxiety on steroids, right? Stressed. I also hear angry. I have also seen people act with rage, like they've gone way past anger. I'm going to say that I think the underlying emotion under all these negative emotions is fear. And so it looks like this, all these different emotions: rage, anger, stressed, anxious, helpless, hopeless, frustration, fear. All of these things come out of this focus on these external things. And it's not that you never find happiness, like your spouse or your best friend sends you flowers and you have this moment of like, oh my gosh, that's so lovely. I feel so good. I feel so loved. And yet, if you're waiting for that, you're constantly in a situation of not having control over that feeling, versus even conversely, you start to think into that inner circle and start to focus there. Now, I'm not saying that focusing on what I say, think, and do will always bring me great happiness or joy. But what it does do over time, and what I have heard from clients for years, is that they ultimately start to feel empowered. And that's the goal, is to start to really feel empowered by where our choices are. So if I'm not feeling very good, and in fact, I had a situation with a friend a few weeks ago. My husband was out of town for the entire week, and I'd been, busy and eating dinner on my own and just fine. And then it was on Wednesday, and I was chit-chatting with this girlfriend. And I said, what are you up to this evening? She goes, oh, I'm having dinner with my husband. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'd really love some company tonight. And she said it was really great that I said that. She goes, because she wouldn't have thought to just invite me over, but she was so happy to have me come over. And her husband actually was really happy to have me come over also, because he had been wanting to go eat at a restaurant she didn't want to eat at. And it gave him this opportunity to leave the two of us to have a delightful dinner together. And he could go and have a meal at this restaurant he really wanted to go to. And so it ended up my asking for what I needed. I ended up having this beautiful evening, versus having this expectation that somebody might read my mind and decide what I needed. I made a choice for my own future that led me towards something much more joyful. And so I love these two circles. I use them often in my own life, and I often just put them up so that I can see them and be reminded of, what circle am I focusing my attention on? Because one is going to take me towards empowerment, which ultimately brings us greater joy and happiness in our lives. And one is going to take me firmly into the circle of frustration, trying to get other people to read my mind, do what I think they need to do things differently. And that's a really pretty vicious circle to put myself into. So I hope this was useful for you today. Have a wonderful weekend, and cheers.